Yo, welcome to Hard Pass. I am your host, Jacques Slade. Today on the show, we've got the latest in Anthony Edwards' path to becoming a commercial superstar, Caitlyn Clark popping up at a golf pro-am, the possibility of a portable Xbox, the week's hottest release, and of course, our Hard Pass, which are the same thing this week. All right, let's start the show with some hot takes. The Anthony Edwards starring in a banger commercial hot streak continues with a new spot for Foot Locker. While Edwards is hanging on a rim, a kid asks AE why he dunks so much, to which Edward replies, "So you can see his shoes." I love it. It's short and to the point and highlights the most talked about basketball shoes of the moment, the Adidas AE1. What is a little funny about the spot is that Edwards has actually made headlines in this young NBA season for shooting way more three-pointers on average per game than he has in previous years. It's actually alarming how much more threes he's shooting, but it's hard to complain when he's making them at an absurd 45% on nearly 12 attempts a game. I doubt this changes the calculus on how Adidas or anybody else markets Edwards, but the timing of the spot could have been better. Here we are hoping AE becomes the next MJ when he might turn out to be the next KD. The Travis Hunter, Deion Sanders sneaker shenanigans continue with the new video of Travis explaining that he has a layaway plan with Coach Prime, and that's why he's able to acquire those exclusive LeBrons. It should be noted that Travis and Colorado QB Shedeur Sanders have PE versions of the Nike DT Max 96 cleats complete with their logos, but hey, can't blame the kid for wanting to level up, right? And amongst the hierarchy of Nike football, Deion is basically the final boss. As somebody who has been on both sides of this video, I loved everything about this. Like, I can relate to Coach Prime and the mild exhaustion of friends and family who love to chat with you about sneakers. I can't even tell you the number of times I've heard somebody say they love the collection that I've amassed when they see it in person, with the small hope that they might be able to take something with them when they go home. Believe me, I'm aware of my sneaker privilege, but I also remember when I was a young Travis who probably bugged an uncle or two about getting hooked up with cool stuff that they have to the point where they just didn't want anything to do with me after a while because I kept bugging. Co-writer remembers a funny story about how he was asking his uncle for a Game Boy for his birthday one time, and they responded with, "You don't want a Game Boy? Here, I'll come up with the game and you be the boy." It's the same thing. Now, I realize that bit would have been funnier if I had said it in Tagalog, which is co-writer's native language, but practicing that bit would have taken a lot longer than Travis trying to convince Coach Prime to give him his gold LeBron 21s before he had a chance to wear them. Patrick Mahomes. So he unlocked a superstar rare achievement this past weekend when he joined the likes of Michael Jordan and, well, Michael Jordan as athletes who have seen their signature logos pop up on the uniforms of college programs. In Mahomes' case, his Gladiator logo was featured on his alma mater Texas Tech's galvanized uniforms and gear, while his name can be found on the back of the Red Raiders helmets. That's rarefied air, man. Only the best of the best of the best can say they've gotten that kind of an honor. Kind of surprised Nike hasn't done it with Coach Prime at Colorado in a more explicit way, but I guess you can't be sure how long Coach is going to stay there or in college football, period, if those Cowboys rumors have any truth to them. Anyways, back to Mahomes. 3 Super Bowls and 2 signature trainers into his run, and for some reason, Mahomes' 3 stripes run just doesn't resonate the same way that one Anthony Edwards signature shoe does. Here's hoping some of that marketing magic that Adidas was able to discover with Edwards will move over to Mahomes, which is wild to say because Mahomes already has a college team rocking his logo. He's that elite. Then again, Georgia could rock the signature AE logo next week, and I would be like, well, that's kind of weird. I thought Georgia was a Nike school. Speaking of college, Caitlyn Clark played the Annika Pro-Am while rocking a special pink colorway of the Nike Infinity Tour 2 earlier this week, drawing massive crowds, which you normally wouldn't expect for a Pro-Am of any sort. But when you're the draw that Caitlyn has proven herself to be, people will follow. And you love to see it, man. It's always cool to see stars from different sports take up golf and maybe help bring in audiences that normally wouldn't pay attention. That Caitlyn rub, to borrow a wrestling parlance, is real, man. Hard to deny it. And look, I'm sure most of the attendees that were actual fans of Caitlyn and wanted to see their new hero up close and in person, but because we just can't have good things, there were more than a few culture war dumbasses online who were hoping that Caitlyn would be so good that they could get some takeoff about how she will change the LPGA like she did for the WNBA or whatever. Well, funny thing happened, and golf was gonna golf. And golf doesn't care if you're the biggest attraction in another sport and a crudgel for trolls.
Oh. Four. Wow. Oh yeah.
Could have got my shoes or something.
There you go. Yeah, run. Go in the hole.
Not surprisingly, the errant tee shot didn't faze Clark as she just teed up another ball right away, just like she would just keep shooting even after a few bricks. Love that mentality, and hopefully that will silence the trolls for a few minutes until they find the next thing to whine about. Takashi Murakami has revealed the name of his independent footwear brand, Ohana Hataki, which means field of flowers. Not surprisingly, these slides will feature the flowery artwork that Murakami is famous for in a variety of colors. Also, not surprisingly, people have called this another knockoff of Kanye West designs because it's a meme at this point. I just wonder what the price point for these is going to be and how fast we're going to see knockoff versions of these at Ross or Burlington Coat Factory or Temu like we do those foam runners that are now all over the place. Okay, for our pick of the week, it's the Nike Vapor Edge Kobe 6 SE Grinch. This is going to be on November 22nd for $230. You know what? This is not only our pick of the week, it's our pick of the year. And it's also going to serve as our hard pass. So put a pin in this for a few minutes and we'll get back to it at the end of the show. So in an interview with Bloomberg, Xbox boss Phil Spencer says that a portable Xbox is possibly on the way, but that it was a few years from actually releasing and there is no red line when it comes to formerly Xbox exclusive games showing up on other platforms like the PS5 or the Nintendo Switch, including Halo. Yeah, you heard it right. If it makes sense, aka the money is right, Microsoft has no problem releasing the next mainline Halo game on non-Xbox or non-PC platforms. And you know what? It's about time on both accounts. Let's start with the portable Xbox. The rumors of an X-Boy have been circulating gaming circles for as long as the Xbox has been around. In the 2000s, it made sense why Microsoft would entertain a portable. Nintendo and Sony each had handhelds to go along with their home consoles to varying degrees of success. While Nintendo dominated the market with the Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, DS, and 3DS, so much so that the Nintendo Switch was basically both a home and portable device, Sony experienced fewer highs but a lot of lows with their mini PlayStation strategy in the form of the PSP and PS Vita. Microsoft probably didn't know which path to take. They weren't going to be able to out Nintendo in terms of innovative ways to play to go along with an exclusive and established library no one could touch. And if they tried to release their own version of the PSP, they would just be competing with Sony's already limited market share. So why do a Xbox now that's portable? Well, because gaming in 2024 is a lot different than it was in 2004. With the popularity of the Nintendo Switch and emergence of the Steam Deck and other similar handhelds, Xbox could make a play for that audience in a few years. Sony doesn't seem to be interested in going back to portables anytime soon. Shout out to the PlayStation Portal, which still doesn't really make sense. Anyway, once the Steam Deck starts to feel antiquated and they get ready for the follow-up, Microsoft could swoop in with a portable Xbox that just plays whatever existing digital library users already have on their home Xbox and develop timed exclusives that can only be played on their platform first. They still won't be able to out Nintendo because the Switch 2 will have the Marios and Zeldas and Metroids, but I feel like they can compete with the Valves and Lenovo's and Asuses of the world, which is funny because the Lenovo Legion Go and Asus ROG Ally use Windows 11 as their operating system, technically making them Xboxes to a certain degree. Wouldn't shock me either if Microsoft just teamed up or bought Lenovo or Asus and just rebranded their portables Xbox either. Meanwhile, let's talk about the next Halo possibly showing up on the PS5 and Switch 2. Spencer hasn't confirmed that this is actually happening, other than to say that there is no red line, aka nothing is sacred. Considering how much Halo means to Xbox and its core fan base, maybe it would damage the brand beyond repair if they ever saw their beloved Master Chief on PlayStation. To which I would say, Guys, you gotta get over it. Once upon a time, no one could have ever imagined Sonic on anything but Sega consoles, and now he's the star of a movie trilogy that counts Idris Elba and Keanu Reeves as castmates. We are in a new era now. The console wars are over, and guess what? Nobody actually won. You could say that Sony won because Microsoft is considering bringing their franchises to PlayStation, but all those PlayStation exclusives like God of War and Spider-Man and Horizon are now popping up on PCs that run Windows because duh, that's a revenue stream they were missing out on. Nintendo exists in its own little bubble because everybody knows that's the only place you'll find Mario and Zelda and Metroid. But let's not forget that they are always one Wii U or GameCube failure away from people pushing the panic button and wondering if it's not the worst move to go multi-platform. It's all precarious, it's all fraught, but that's the nature of the video game business. What works for one generation may not translate to the next. But what we should hope for at the end is not for a $1 billion company to defeat another, is that the games are good and that people can play them on their platform of choice. All right. It's time for this week's Hard Pass, where we take a look at something in the culture that just needs to go. Like the idea that a Kobe brand couldn't work, because this drop right here is soft launch of that brand. I hope. Let's start things off by reiterating our hot take. The Nike Vapor Edge Kobe 6 SE Grinch is potentially the biggest footwear drop of 2024. While the Nike Kobe 6 Grinch has long been an upper echelon entry in the late Kobe Bryant's signature shoe overall, they took an even more special meaning after his passing and the temporary pause in the partnership between Nike and the Bryant estate. The Nike Kobe 6 Grinch, released in late 2020, was one of the biggest of that year, selling out instantly and commanding obscene amounts in the resale market. Obviously, people wanted to pay their respects to Kobe, but there was also the looming possibility at the time that the Nike and Kobe relationship was ending, which ended up happening a few months later. That, coupled with people having money to burn during the pandemic, would explain why the rush and demand for the sneakers grew. The Grinches became the it basketball shoe among Nike athletes. Despite matching with approximately 0 NBA uniforms, hoopers in the league and in the colleges and below levels wore the Kobe 6 Grinches as a tribute to the Black Mamba. Those that got them rocked them and cherished them and hooped them the way that Kobe would have wanted. But Kobe's influence wasn't limited to just the basketball court. Athletes from a younger generation saw Kobe and the Mamba mentality as a way of life, and certainly a method to the madness of being a professional athlete. That's why it wasn't shocking at all to see a number of NFL and Major League Baseball players wearing custom cleats in the style of Kobe's. Bryce Harper, one of Under Armour's biggest names, wore custom UA cleats in the colors of the Grinches. Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, and Odell Beckham Jr. have all gone the custom route to show their love for Kobe. It cannot be understated the impact Kobe had. And that's why I think these cleats that are set to drop this week could have a huge implication for the Kobe brand if they do as well as we expect them to. For as long as Kobe Bryant was a Nike athlete, there has been plenty of wishful thinking from the community about Nike making him a standalone brand a la Jordan brand. Plenty of NBA players wore Kobe's during and especially after Bryant's playing days, and we were already starting to see the custom cleats pop up around that time. You could have easily pictured someone like DeMar DeRozan as the de facto face of the brand, and someone like Nick Young as the Kobe would have had Swaggy P rocking all the hot PEs. We'll say that for sure. Prior to his passing, Kobe's passions included the Mamba Sports Academy, which hosted young athletes who played football, volleyball, and many other sports. They wore Mamba Academy gear, some that had Nike swooshes and some that didn't. The seeds were already being planted with or without Nike's backing. Last week on this show and on the Too Hard to Pass podcast, co-writer and I discussed the seemingly one-sided appeal that basketball shoes have across all sports. You'll see athletes customize their gear to look like Jordans and Kobe's and LeBron's, but you rarely see it go the other way around, save for the odd LeBron that looks like a diamond turf. Everybody remembers the time when Ronnie Lott wore the Air Jordan 4 playoffs during the Super Bowl, but I remember when Michael Jordan would wear his signature Air Jordans on the leaks years before Nike decided to sell them. During the podcast, I said that the lifestyle component to basketball shoes and the open nature of hoops that allow you to see MJ and Kobe's faces as they performed at the highest level connects you to them in a way that you wouldn't be able to with a football or a baseball player who's covered in pads and a helmet or a baseball cap. It's those little things, and the fact that they were two of the greatest to ever play is why you see guys from other sports like Harper and Diggs and others go out of their way to pay homage. And for whatever reason, Nike didn't see that before. Well, maybe now they do if these Grinch cleats are happening. Look, When Jordan Brand and Nike Golf decided in 2015 that it was time to bring retros to golf for real, the older generation was not having it. They did not see the appeal. They refused to embrace the vision. Fast forward nearly a decade later, and now the sneaker community has kind of cooled on Jordan 1s, and yet they are among the most popular golf shoes that I see when I go to play. There was less friction in baseball and football, but you could imagine that there's a not insignificant amount of traditionalists who wonder why these Jordan cleats that don't even match the colors of their team are all over the place now. Well, wait until they see these Kobe 6s on any given Sunday or Saturday or Friday or Thursday night or Monday. They just play football every day now? Look, if and when these Kobe 6 cleats take off, I expect Nike to follow them up with the reverse Grinch colorway and other Kobe 6 colorways. After that's done, we'll see the baseball versions that will pop off all on the timeline, and eventually we'll get them in golf as well. And that is going to leave the golf community in shambles. Like, it was one thing for Jordans to pop up in golf because the colors on most of their releases were relatively tame and kind of conservative in the grand scheme. The Kobe 6 Grinch and reverse Grinch in golf, oh, that's an existential crisis waiting to happen. And I will be here loving every minute. And it will all begin with these cleats dropping next week. This is not the Kobe brand that anybody could have ever expected, but I think the world is ready now. Mamba forever, y'all. All right, that's going to do it for the show. Thank you for watching Hard Pass. I am Jacques Slade. I'll see you next week. If you'd like to possibly be featured in a future episode, call us at 818-493-9325. Leave a short message, your socials if you want, no more than 30 seconds. All right, I'll see you next week. Peace.